This topic is actually is one that I believe is very topical. I mean, everyone wants to know about cybersecurity, and hardly does a day go by without you knowing that there's a breach of some sort of the other. And so, how many of us know that that's what breaches happen fairly frequently? Yeah? You must have heard of TalkTalk.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Even Yahoo.
Exactly. So TalkTalk, Yahoo, LinkedIn, Dropbox, Target.
U.S. election.
Say it again.
Hillary Clinton. I said U.S. elections.
Yeah. So it's very topical. It's nothing new. It happens very frequently. So as was mentioned earlier on, my name is Clarence. I've been in the field for 18 years. So I run the security function for a large retailer, and today I'm hoping to kind of go through a few things with us. So one is, I guess, at a very basic level, what is security? So what is it we're looking to protect? A quick discussion on the attack profiles. So, I mean, who are the bad guys? What are they about? And what our threat landscape looks like. So what is it we're trying to defend against, essentially? And a quick review of the target data breach case. And we're going to talk about how breaches happen. So how did it actually happen? What leads to the breach? How did they break in? And some insights on the cybercrime market, which I'm hoping will be you'll find interesting. And again, finally, what do we actually do in the real world? How do we actually begin to act on the intelligence we have to mitigate the risk and the impact of cyber attacks? Okay. So let's, at a very generic level in terms of security, what is security? I mean, so what is it about? And the first one is the obvious one, which is confidentiality, right? So trying to make sure we have controls in place that will ensure that people have access to the right stuff and nothing more. So not more than they require access to. Okay? So about getting people the right level of access to what they need. So protecting your core data, your assets, essentially. Integrity, making sure that people don't have the ability to actually make modifications or alter data without the right privilege. Availability, making sure that data is available as required by the right people. And accountability, making sure you have an audit trail to understand what's happened and what's taking place. So C, I, A, and A. So confidentiality, integrity, availability, and accountability. Okay. So ask the question, I mean, who are the attackers, who are the actors that we're working against? So why am I employed for example? Why does my job, why is it important? We have three core groups of attackers, threat actors, they're called. The first one is the organized crime. And so those ones are usually motivated by financial gains, which I'll talk about in more detail. You've got hacktivism, those that have some kind of ideology, or some kind of mantra they want to defend against, like cyber jihad and others. And espionage, where you have state-sponsored actors that are attacking other countries, trying to get intellectual property and other things of value. By the way, I'm happy to take questions as we go along, so please just feel free to ask and interrupt. So organized crime. So I hope you can see this very clearly. So you have a number of things happening here. So click fraud. So again, you click on a link, and before you know it, you've downloaded malware in your machine, and someone is scraping your account details without you knowing. Ransomware. So they encrypt data on your computer, and unless you pay a ransom, then you don't get the data decrypted. Bank fraud. I'm sure we've all heard of that in some shape or form. You laugh, I think that seems familiar, I guess. Right. So bank fraud. People obviously try and use various attempts, which I'll share later, to defraud you. You've all heard of the 419 scams and others. Okay? And again, you've got large-scale extortion taking place across various industries. As I said, hacktivism, that's mostly ideology and those that have a point they want to prove. So conflicts that are political, like cyber jihad, and even those some young kids just doing hacking for the fun of it, trying to just take a drill out of it, essentially. And espionage, that's more political, more industrial, and those that are actually seeking to steal IP from various organizations. But I think the key point is that the organized crime is mostly for financial gains. Hacktivism is mostly political, or also those that are just seeking to have fun. and espionage is more for state-sponsored to get IP, which is intellectual property. Okay. So these are the guys that keep me employed. Yes.
These slides, is there any possibility we'll get the slides after this session?
I believe
yeah, most they will be handed out if you registered for the IT conference. They will be sent out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And posted on the website apparently later.
Yes, as well. So
Someone mentioned your colleague.
yeah. So it will be you get the information.
Okay, so these guys are the guys that keep me gainfully employed. So what are the biggest threats to organizations? So I mean, we know who the threat actors are. So now what threat do they actually present to organizations? So I've got some interesting stats here. So almost all the breaches we have actually fall into one of 9 categories, right? So you've got miscellaneous errors, whereby somebody doing something, accidentally, that leads to the breach of security, and that's 9% of the time. You've got privilege misuse, so someone sharing their password with somebody else that they shouldn't, right? That's 8%. You've got physical theft and loss, so someone, either losing their laptop that has confidential information on it, or losing a USB stick, or forgetting a phone in the cab, and the phone doesn't have a PIN and has confidential material. That's 2% of the time. And you've got denial of service, which is DDoS, and that's essentially when the attackers send lots of traffic, it's malicious, on your systems to bring them down. As a matter of fact, a story I want to share with you guys. So sometimes, I work in retail, and in retail we have what we call the peak season, which is when we make the core of our revenue. So Black Friday, Christmas, so towards the end of the year. So basically we make the most money in the last 3 months of the year than we do all year round. So it's a very important time of the business. And so at the height of peak, we got a phone call one evening on my way home. A call went to the PR office saying that, the caller was saying that at 8 p.m. that night, I'll bring your systems down. And so on one hand, you can think, well, it's having a laugh and you can go home and carry on with your evening. But on the other hand, if you did bring the system down, you look like a fool because he warned you. So that was a very long night, as I'm sure my wife and my mother can testify. So we had to kick in the crisis response plan. So I had to, obviously, engage our defenses, make sure that we were up to speed. I had to have a brief for the CEO in case it actually happened and we got hacked. What would the CEO say? I had to engage the media partners to get an alert, to record the briefing. So a lot of things went into that, but nothing happened, thankfully. So crimeware. Crimeware involves essentially dumping malware, which is against malicious software, essentially, on computers to gain financial privilege. Web attacks, essentially using loopholes and vulnerabilities and exposures on web systems to actually gain access into the wider network. So there's something called credential stuffing. Can anyone guess what that means? Credential stuffing.
A list of where your username and your password are stored.
Okay, that's a good start, but not quite.
A list of usernames and passwords or something that they keep trying.
Very good, yes. So credential stuffing, essentially what it is. So how many of us have passwords for something here? Okay. How many of us will use the same passwords on multiple systems?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I thought so. So you have the same password for your home computer, for your online shopping, for your banking, for your Facebook, for your Twitter, the same password, right? And so credential stuffing is when the attacker gets a list of passwords and then tries them multiple times, using a botnet, using an automated machine, and tries them multiple times on various systems and sees which one works. And then once they kind of have the one that works, they then use that to compromise the system later on. And so, for example, if you have the same password for Amazon and for Facebook, and they kind of find out that it works, then they'll try and log into your account using those credentials and carry on with a transaction like it was you, essentially. So that's again 40% of the attacks happen in that space. Now, POS intrusions, so that's point of sale intrusions. So in retail, that's a big deal. It's a big deal for us. As a matter of fact, I've got one here. So it's amazing how we're all very very trusting, and we kind of walk into those dodgy stores and just without thinking about it, just chucking your card, bashing your PIN, and without knowing. I mean, if some of them look so manky that he doesn't even think twice before using them. Now, with POS, there are a number of different attacks that the attackers actually do. One of them is they can actually take out the POS and replace it with a different one without you knowing, and then that POS will begin to have data exfiltrated. So that way, whenever you put in your card and you take it out, that it's been logged somewhere else without you being aware. And some of them have in fact, like this ones, like you can actually you can alter. So you think you're putting your card into an ATM or into a POS in a retail store, but actually it's going into somebody else's some other modified device without you being aware. But this is actually quite easy to modify without you knowing. And so you put it in and it reads your stripe on the back of your card, and it goes into a third party's storage. Now, and some other things you can do in here as well is going to modify the chip in the POS that people are not even aware of. And so it's not very visible, and it's actually not high tech, but it's very effective. Okay. So you can imagine those are the kind of things that we tend to worry about.
Have you ever had any malware on your POS tools?
Again?
Have you ever found any malware on your POS tools?
Right. Okay. So we have a number of tools in place that we use to identify whether there's malware or not. But thankfully, I mean, what I've identified is that when people try to tamper with those POS, it self-locks. So we have the new variation of pens, so that if it's tampered with, it locks, and so it becomes redundant, essentially. Okay.
Is there a requirement for stores to have this sort of thing to be able to counter what you just described now?
Well,
because I'm asking because we put our cards in places everywhere, and
right. So by the way, I'm not here to scare. I'm just here to raise awareness.
Yeah, we need to know. Yeah.
So there's there's no requirement to have secure systems. However, as a good retailer, there's a level of expectation that you would expect those people to have. Now that said, there's a heavy fine that comes with data breaches. So in the past, there used to be a fine for non-compliance. So if you're not compliant with some standards, then you get fined. But now that's disappeared, and instead there's a higher fine for breaches. So that, in a sense, they're saying, well, you know what? If you're not compliant, it's okay. But then if you suffer a breach, we're going to fine you significantly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then the problem is that you by the time the breach has happened and your data has been compromised, it's a bit late.
Is that the same with the O2? Is it the O2 that had
TalkTalk
that had a breach?
Yeah. TalkTalk actually was, I think it's industry-changing breach actually for us in the UK, correct? Yeah.
Well, that was a young boy that did it. No, I'm just.
It was for fun.
No, but
Yeah, so that goes back to the bit here about the phone and credits. Yeah.
But considering all the peaks, firewalls, and all those things, I'm just wondering, the young child.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen.
I have a question. I recently did something to my phone. I'm not very savvy with these things. I know you can press buttons and they say yes and no. But I access my emails, or up until 2 days ago, I was able to access my emails using my phone. Then I used a laptop that I'd never used before because I borrowed somebody else's laptop, and I was signing in via Yahoo. And to access my emails, they said to me, you need to disable your apps that are not security safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I ticked yes because I wanted to have a look at my email there and then. And when I came back to my phone was disabled. I couldn't access all my emails.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's not. No. I'm glad it did that because it then showed me that we trust this
Yeah, yes.
with everything. We make payments with this. Now, if somebody somewhere is now deciding that this is an insecure source and is blocking it, what is the way out for me?
Yes.
I don't know about anybody else, but what's the way
It's
out for me?
Yahoo that does that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're aware, but Yahoo was actually breached.
Yeah, it does breach quite often, I know that,
was
yeah.
breached, yeah, and it might happen that some users' credentials will have been stolen as part of that breach as well. Now, that said, and to your point, we have iPads, iPhones, other devices that we use for everything. So we run our web banking on it, we shop online with it, we have Facebook on it, and most of us actually have our credentials stored on it.
Yeah.
So every time you go into Facebook, you don't have to enter the password all over again. And so once that device is compromised, then you have access to everything, essentially. So that's why, I mean, I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in terms of the password hygiene.
Sorry, just a quick one. The other time you mentioned something about people that use the same password for everything,
Yeah.
and then you can have a bot that kind of tries it on several systems.
Yes.
I just want to know, is it safe to have one of these password manager programs where you can put everything in a password manager, which itself requires a password? That's one of my thoughts, but I'm kind of skeptical.
That's a fantastic question. So I think, so the counsel we give people is that when you have, it's good to have multiple passwords for different sites, right? So don't reuse passwords. Then if you have those kind of passwords that are kind of long list of passwords, how do you ensure that you can keep them where you can actually easily access them without making it very visible as well? So typically a password vault is what you do, which is what you have. But then bear in mind as well that there's some password vaults out there that have malware on it and have a backdoor. And so it's important that you tend not to go for the free ones, because the free ones come with a gift, which is essentially malware. So I'll suggest that's clearly not an enterprise grade one, but something you actually pay for is a good starting point. So in retail, so which the industry I work in, the core of the incidents actually fall in three categories, right? So denial of service, which I mentioned before, which is essentially sending junk traffic to the websites and to the site, to the systems to bring them down. Pause intrusions, which I spoke about, and also the web attacks. So that forms the core of the issue that we're faced with. Now I think one thing I was going to bring to light as well. So the DOS attack that we suffer. I mean, that's the same equivalent of having, look at that, over 113 million people on your server a minute.
Wow.
Imagine that. So having 113 million people on your server a minute. So that's a lot of traffic. That's a lot of traffic. And again, it's not malicious as well. So I mean, if it's people shopping online, that'd be great. That's just junk traffic on your systems. And again, I mean, it says here as well that 64% of the retail breaches that confirmed was due to pause intrusions. So where data has been leaked, which is a high number. So time taken to compromise. So we've spoken about the threat actors, we've spoken about the threats that they present, and we're now looking at time it takes to compromise the system. So in 11% of the cases, it takes just seconds to actually bring the system down. Seconds. I mean, you'll think that with all the technologies in place, with all the defenses people have in place, it was difficult, to actually, do a compromise. But in that many cases, it's seconds it takes, and that's short. Time taken to actually do data exfiltration, minutes. So I mean, the business I work with, we deployed a solution that is called self-learning. So essentially, what it does, it learns good behavior on the network, and so when something anomalous happens, then we get alerts that says, for example, there's a lot of data coming out from this location. We want to look into that. So for our threat intelligence. Yeah?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? About something that learns behavior?
It's self-learning technology.
Oh.
So essentially, it learns the behavior of all the actors on the network, and so all the systems, it learns what good looks like and what's normal for them. And so when something abnormal happens, then you get alerts. So for example, when it identifies that there's lots of data being chopped out or being sent to an external source, then you get visibility of that.
What's the source of these? But I mean, I'm asking because I'm currently working on a project, where these are good information for me, but I need to know the source of these figures, this 82% and all of that.
Okay, so you want free consultancy, basically. That's fine. I'll do that. Yeah, so this is from the latest Verizon data breach incident reporting. Okay, so Verizon, they're one of the partners that we use for, I guess, threat intelligence and other things. Okay. And so the shocking thing is not how long it takes to compromise or to do data exfiltration. What is very shocking is how long it takes for those companies to know that they've been compromised. So in most cases, it takes weeks or more to discover. And so someone's hacked into your system, or someone's actually dumped malware on your network, and you don't even know for weeks. That is shocking. So you've probably heard about the Target case study, Target in the US retail business. So late 2013, they again in peak season, which I spoke about earlier on, they got hacked by a group called Riscato, and the hack was done using the several POS systems. So again, one of those. So as I said before, in retail, this is one of the biggest issues we have, because that's it's one that's very visible, and also one that can be easily tampered with. And as a result, the profits declined by almost 50%. You can imagine, having half of your profits, wiped out. Yes.
On the POS, from what I heard this morning, is that the operating system that they normally use is XP. Is that true?
It varies. It varies. But XP is actually not supported, and XP has
security breaches as well.
Yeah, it's got security vulnerabilities. Yeah. Yeah, so if you have anything running XP, then you're in trouble essentially, because it's not supported and it has lots of vulnerabilities.
So what operating system are they using on the POS now?
Well, again, it
varies.
It does vary. Yeah, you have some built on Oracle.
Okay.
Yeah, which So essentially, the breach at Target happened by the attackers using information that was available publicly, that they get from Microsoft, from LinkedIn, and other areas, and again, compromising the various assets within the network to get, and using malware, to leverage memory scraping on the devices. Yeah? So they stole credit card, they stole personal information, and they stole other valuable data. And that breach cost them $350 million. $350 million. That's quite significant. So how did they get in? Speaking of vulnerabilities, can someone have a go at guessing how many was exploited last year? And by just to define, vulnerability means essentially a defect or a weakness in a system that can be exploited for a breach or compromise. So how many do we feel was actually last year? Anyone? Can you give me a number?
3,000.
3,000. Okay. Any other tickets? Any others?
I'll buy it for 10,000.
Auction, like an auction here. Okay. What are you buying? Just check. What are you buying? 10,000. Okay. 25,000. Okay. Oh, it's going higher. Wow.
25.
Sorry.
25 million.
The same ones that have been going on. Oh, sorry. What's the number? Is it 25,000 or 25 million?
Oh, she said 25,000. She said 25 million.
20 vulnerabilities.
25,000.
Vulnerability.
25.
The top 10 have been occurring over the last decade, I think.
Yeah. Okay. 25. Okay. And anybody else? Okay. Right. So this will shock you. 7 million.
Oh.
7 million vulnerabilities last year were exploited. 7 million. So that's shocking. And to know that that's basically essentially 10 of those, just 10 of the 7 million, only 10.
I didn't see that. You're right. I didn't see that red one, but that's my point.
Accounted to almost all the breaches. Yeah.
What did you say?
I said that there were 7 million vulnerabilities last year that were exploited, and of the 7 million, just 10 of them were accountable for most of the breaches that happened last year.
Sorry, that was my point, and I didn't see that.
Right. So again, phishing. You guys know what phishing is?
Yes.
No? Okay, well, phishing basically is a technique used by attackers to essentially, by email typically, or by send you an email, get you to click on a link or open an attachment, and when you do, they dump malware in your system, and they find a way to kind of get your personal data or other data that is valuable to you. Right? So essentially what it does, because when you do phishing in real life, trying to catch a fish, you have a bait. So the bait in this case is actually the email. Right? We're saying click here to win a prize, or click here to get this or do the other. So that's what phishing is. And in 30% of the cases, those emails are opened. And in 30% of the cases, they actually click on them and on the link or the attachment, which is quite high.
Excuse me, is it when you open it that you are caught, or is it when you click on the link?
So it depends. Now, some variants of phishing emails are actually very well crafted, so that even when you open it, it leaves a problem. Now, so the general counsel is, if you find an email that you're not expecting, or from someone that you don't know, then just don't open it. And if you open it, then don't click on any links or any attachments. So look at this. So click here and win 500 quid. I mean, who doesn't want that? Yeah? Free money, right? Yeah. So and that's a scam. And oftentimes you click on that email, on that link, or open attachment, and then as a matter of fact, in this particular case, when you do that, I mean they have a way of registering your details, and then they charge you your account. I think it was £7 a week or whatever it is, without you knowing.
Sorry, we have a question.
Sure.
So going back to, say, you're on a browser and you open a tab and then somehow, there's another tab open and it gives you an option of yes or no, and then there's close, and then suddenly everything goes unresponsive. So then in that case, what if they've coded, even though when you click on the X, that is what your instinct would tell you, okay, that's a bad site, I don't want to, go there. When you click on the X as well, do you think, is there a possibility that they've coded that X or the exit button to do something? Or in that, would you open Task Manager and then close it, or do you have any other suggestions?
That's a great question. So oftentimes, I mean, the X at the top right might actually have malware on it, right? But then the way you know that is when you click on the X, it takes you somewhere else. Yeah, that's how you know that there's something not quite right. And so what you do in that is just you run your if you have an antivirus or anti-malware, to run the software to see what comes up.
Thank you.
And so this is some very quick tips on how to identify phishing emails. So in this case, sorry, is there a pointer on this? Is there a pointer on this? No?
Yeah, the red.
Okay. So in this case, you can see here that this says PayPal, but the email address is from something very, not quite right, from somewhere else. Right? And also it has a sense of urgency. It tells you, well, act now, or this has been limited. Okay? It has a very odd attachment, so here, there's no, the name of the document is not quite right. Yeah? Object required, so it kind of makes you to act quickly. And typically, the email is quite generic, so there's no reference to you as a person. Yeah, that's a giveaway. Poor spelling, poor grammar. Then click on the link. And again, urgency. Okay. So malware is getting more sophisticated, and that could be in various forms, typically by phishing. And if you look at this, it says 5 malware events per second. That's high. That's huge. And what's even shocking as well is that most of them were unique to a single company. So you can actually easily tweak and customize your malware for the company you're trying to attack. Very easily. Passwords. Again, we spoke about that before. I mean, most of all the breaches that have been confirmed have involved leveraging a weak default or stolen password. It's a tool. I mean, I don't know if it's not working, but it's a tool you can use actually to test your password strength. In this scenario, I mean, it takes just 2 minutes to crack this password. So I wonder how many of us have passwords called password 123, or I mean your name, or your daughter's name,
Exactly.
yeah, or your date of birth in some shape or form. Yeah, so I mean those are not strong passwords, and in this case, that can be broken within 2 minutes. I bet you're wondering why I have that on there. Does it look familiar? Underpants. So I mean, passwords are like underpants. And I'm sure you all wonder what I'm talking about. Everyone has them. I hope. But you don't share them. You don't share your passwords. You don't share your underpants. And also, you change them regularly. I hope.
Back to front.
Back to front. You know what? Or inside out. As a matter of fact, you see that as a joke. But then if you change the password, I mean, in some shape or form, as previous one, yeah, absolutely. So that's actually quite tough
I'm
serious.
saying back to front, not what you guys are thinking.
So just some quick insights on the cybercrime markets. I mean, have a look at this. You can buy an account sealer for $30. I mean, it's so cheap, so affordable. You can buy a bank project for $1,000. A basic malware kit, $300. You can even get a discount if you buy it for every month. So this is, I mean, it's affordable, it's lucrative. DDoS services, as I said before, DDoS. So you can rent a kit for 1 month for $81.
What?
Sorry? Yeah, for $81. So you can, those botnets, you can rent them. Some people call it rent a crime. Now this is getting interesting. For stolen credit cards in the US, $4.
Just that?
Yeah.
Credit card.
But apparently credit card in Europe and Asia is more expensive, so you pay $12 for that. And if you want what they call the fulls, which is basically the full details, so you get the ID, the full PAN on the card, and the back number at the back, and the address, $25. And you know, as we sit here today, you know, without trying to scare you, some of us in this room, our details are actually up for sale without us being aware of it. No, I'm being serious. I wish I mean actually I'll show you. So where the function I lead, I have people in my team that actually spend their time every day doing research and intelligence. So we have what they call the dark web that they research and understand, you know, what's on it that affects our brand. And you'll be surprised. You aren't, well, not me, but you most likely, possibly, would have the details on the dark web for sale without you being aware.
So how do you protect it?
So
What is anybody doing about this? But that's been there for ages. Huh? Someone team down.
It's good that you just mentioned this because there's been a question in my mind, remediation. For instance, when you have your details out there and you keep on getting marketing stuff, text messages, emails, your phone number is out there, probably they got it from recruitment agencies or things, places you filled your details in on the web, and now you're talking about the dark web. I have a worry. How do you really stop? Because I get all sorts of things now, although I don't click on into action. I try to block as much as possible, but it doesn't always work. What can you do to really stop all of this?
Okay,
If your details are already out there anyways,
right.
and you don't know, what steps can you take? What actions can you take?
It's hard, but what you can start with doing is to actually opt out. So most reputable retailers would have what they call marketing preferences, and you can actually opt out of the list. And so essentially that would mean that they stop sending you junk, and you just stop getting the text messages and the emails. But also it's actually good practice to check your credit file regularly to see if anyone is subscribed to a new service on your behalf without you knowing. So in some instance, there's one I know that had this guy's in his 50s, and someone just applied for a student loan, under his name, and the guy was wondering, he's been paying this thing. It actually somebody got it and they went defaulted on the loan, and so he was also in arrears, and he didn't even know that was happening. And so it's commonplace. So it's a good idea to actually look at your credit file and get visibility of what's happening on your credit reports.
Sorry, just back to that. In situations where you cannot really opt out, like you get all these automated text messages. I use an iPhone. I find out I can't even block. When I do block contacts, I can't block because obviously they're using generic stuff. How do you really?
So in that case, I would just say ignore, because they might have gotten your details from somewhere else, and that's what becomes an issue is when you respond to it, or when you click on the link, or when you follow the instructions. So the best thing is just ignore.
For any other questions, would you mind saving that after, just so you could go through that? Is that okay?
Because I've got 30 more slides. So again, just on the final slide on the cybercrime markets, so you can see how easy it is to actually you can rent a professional, to spin up a fake bank site for you for $81. File cracking for $45. So if you want to hire someone who's going to hack your personal email, $50, and it's done. So all of you that think you've got some secrets you're hiding in your Yahoos and your Hotmails, so it's fairly easy. And even if you want someone to be a coordinator and support you remotely, $50 an hour. So this is very affordable. So I was hoping to get it on the screen, but it's not. The slide is not working. But just to show you, even as we're here right now, there are live attacks going on. Yeah. And so this in this instance, I mean, you can see the targets. I mean, typically here the US and UAE, and it's further down you find out who the origin is, where it's coming from. And so it's a global issue. It doesn't happen just in the UK. It's a global issue, and it's happening 24/7. Okay, using various methods, using various vulnerabilities as well. So nobody is new.
Can I opt out of the techno world and just actually live my life?
As a matter of fact, it's really late for that. It's really late for it, yeah. So as you can see, so we've spoken about threat actors, we've spoken about the various attack services and the threats they pose, and the various industries that they pertain to. So no one is really immune. And so people often ask me that as a leader of a security function, how do I get to sleep at night with all these threats and attacks going on? So I say, like a baby.
Your little daughter.
But I wake up every 3 hours and cry. So it's a real issue. I mean, so as you can imagine, lots of threats we're faced with, lots of issues. But once you employ the right levels of solution and technologies, and you have the right people that are working with you, it makes life easier. And so, last two slides. So what do we do? What do I actually do to actually defend against this? One is to kind of get intelligence. So understand what's happening globally, what's happening in my industry, what threats are happening in retail. Could it happen to me? So, and if it does, what's the potential risk and the impact if it happens to us? And which assets are deemed critical? And then, how can I tell if I'm being attacked? As I said before, most companies don't even know for weeks or even months that they've been attacked. So how do I tell if I've been attacked?
Right. But some of these companies do penetration testing, and they get the necessary certification that will make their systems are fine. So how come a young kid, I still go back to this, they pay so much money to have these things done. To have this penetration testing done, and to put all these major things in place. So how come it's so easy?
So I'll give you an example. So it's not all about the pen testing. As a matter of fact, in my view, people are the weakest link. So can anyone guess, what the average, how much, on average, people would happily take as an employee to reveal third-party secrets, to reveal the company secrets to third parties?
$50. $20 to get a couple days of Subway?
No, that's too cheap.
Probably like $1,000.
Maybe $1,000.
Actually, on average, the average employee will take £5,000 to reveal something very confidential to a third party. $5,000. That's what it takes. So you can do all your pen testing as long as you like. You can have all the firewalls, but all it takes is $5,000 for someone to give out the company.
Most of the attacks, so most of the attacks really has got an inside knowledge.
Some of it. Yeah, some of it. Yeah. Because, for example, the emails, the phishing emails you get, an employee clicks on the email, it's an employee is the weakest link in that case as well. Also, just last week, happened that we got a call. One of the colleagues got a call from someone claiming to be from BT, and he was told to click on a link and go onto websites, and they hijacked his computer and did all sorts on his computer. And that happened for half an hour, within half an hour period. So it does happen. So again, while it's great to have pen testing in place, but then that's not the solution to all problems. So do I know I'm being attacked? Or some companies are just blissfully ignorant. They don't even know it's happening. And when I've been attacked, how can I respond swiftly to minimize the damage? And how do I assess the impact and the risk to the business? You asked tons of questions while I was going on, but then...
The last bit, going back to the last slide. When am I attacked? How do I respond swiftly? And how do I assess potential impact? That's the question that you can please answer. Please, so,
All right. So how do I respond swiftly?
yeah.
So what we have? So 3 categories: people, process, and technology. So on the people side, make sure you have people that know what they're doing. Make sure you have strong people in the team. On the process side, so what I've done, we have a very robust crisis response plan. So when something happens, then we can act swiftly. So we know who to engage, we know who to kind of make sure that they're aware. And also, as part of business as usual, we have a number of defenses in place anyway that gives us visibility of what's happening in the attack landscape. So I've got people in the team that review the dark web for intelligence, to understand any planned campaigns against our brands. I have people that actually leverage technologies to identify what new threats are coming that could impact our industry or our business. So it's a long array of things we do.
So what is dark web? What is dark web? What is dark web?
Dark web is not something you would have access to.
Okay.
But however, I mean, criminals have access to it. And so in dark web, you have the illegal sale of credentials, of drugs, of weapons, of what crimes is being engineered.
Slick road, yeah?
Sorry?
Is it slick road or slicks?
There's a www something something something.
I decline to comment.
Okay, we'll take the very last question.
My name's Dave Michelle. I'm a security professional. I've got to say, your knowledge of retail far exceeds anything I've seen presented in the UK.
Thank you.
So, quick question. There's a group set up in the US. You've said the problems are global, and you buy threat intelligence, you map ABS. Do you interface with the retail CERT, which is the computer emergency response team for everyone else?
Right, so that's a great question. So we partner with a variety of bodies, including the CERT, the Metropolitan Police, and also what was called a National High-Tech Crime Unit as well. So there's a variety of bodies we actually partner with to get intelligence and we can spread news as well. Yeah. And I think what's also important as well is, so apart from the intelligence units and various crime bodies, also other professionals in the industry as well, that you can leverage their intelligence as well. Because, for example, I got a call from a retail company, which I remain unnamed, in the August bank holiday, that they were under attack, ransomware. And so the attack went on the whole bank holiday weekend, and they were asking for a ransom. And so they're seeking advice in terms of what they could do.
Even though they're rivals commercially, potentially.
Yeah. Because, so I think so in that sense, a bit of collaboration and a bit of influence in the
I think that's the big dimension. Thank you.
Okay, so afterwards it's going to be available for questions.